Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. Let's do a carburetor, but I just dropped a piece of spacer hose. That's not going to work out well. So I've noticed this time of year in the videos that there's a pretty loud hum in the background. That's my attic fan in here that keeps this garage even remotely bearable. Why it comes through so loud on the video, I don't know. So I'll apologize for that now. I don't know the way to deal with it. I'll see if there's any noise cancellation on the video editing program that I can use, but I'm doubtful. So this is a Walbro SDC-54. I'm pretty certain this is from a Homelite 450. This is Jerry's. He wanted me to do a video and go through this thing. He got the gasket kit. Alright. So right off the top, I'm not going to say I see anything too all-fired bad. It does have some leak down. And that is leaking down faster than I like. So let's see where it's coming from. Little minute amount right up in there. Got to be the needle that accounts for most of it. It's not bad though, I'll say that. It isn't bad. But we'll just go through this thing and see what we find. So these SDCs are all basically the same. You're going to have different jet sizes, orifices, and things like that. Biggest difference is they did, just like so many, they had a period where there was a fixed high-speed jet, and this is one of them. It's not adjustable, so I guess on the plus side is that kept the guy from burning up his saw. The minus is you couldn't tune it to the way you wanted. Alright, now that came out awful damn easily. I'm not sure I care for that. I'm not 100% convinced that was indexed, and if it was, God, it fell out easily. But it could have been. It probably was. So this is one difference. You can see there's a screw-in jet right here. And it looks like that has been out before. And I'm not certain that it's going to come out again. And I'm not certain that there's a reason to. Because it's just going to go right down into that passage right there in the throat of the carburetor. So, needle doesn't look bad. We're going to stretch this spring just a little bit. Give it a little more resistance. Jerry put a new needle in this. There we go. I did not stretch that much. You don't want to make a mess out of these things. This one was a little bit stubborn. Normally you can do these without taking this screw all the way out. Alright, before I dig into that other side, now that's a tight fit right up here, and that's actually the hose distorting and leaking there. That's what's leaking, is this hose. See if I get to where there's absolutely no pressure on it, it doesn't move. So this jet would be the high speed, and that's how they're achieving that fixed. Makes me wonder if there shouldn't be a check valve underneath that, though, so that it's not backfeeding into carburetor. So this is just a generic SDC service drawing that they have copied way too many bloody times. Yeah, this is too generic. This doesn't even cover the screw-in jet models. Nice try, Walbro. However, typically there's a check valve that goes between the high-speed passage into the carb throat so that fuel can come through, but you don't want an engine pulse to disrupt the carburetor. So that's why I'm wondering what isn't under there that maybe should be. This low-speed side, that plug is just covering up the passage, and this carb just has three little holes here, one on the inside of the carb plate and the other two are on the outside, so that as you open the throttle more and more, you're going to be able to draw more fuel. Well, I'm not sure there's a big reason to come through this other side, but we'll check it out because we're here. This is one of the ones that does not funnel the pulse for the carb body. That's what this other barb is up top. That's the carburetor pulse line. That's what's going to actuate the fuel pump side of the carb here. And you know, my aftermarket hose kits that I've put together, if you have a carburetor pulse line, look for a piece of tubing. I'm going to include one that's thicker than the rest. Like this carb, or the 450 and 550 would have come with basically 1/8 by 3/16 fuel hose, thin stuff, and it slipped right into the tank. Well, the pulse line would have a thicker wall so that it doesn't collapse. So I'm going to, in those kits, I include 1/8 by 1/4. So that keeps it a little more on the straight and narrow. Now this all looks really good. I'm a little concerned. We haven't found anything really that I can point to and go, well, why didn't this carb work properly? It's got the nice thick body gasket. That's what these things like. 2 are included, and you should match it up to your old one. Most of the Homelites with the HDCs use this thick gasket. This all looks just fine. So I am seriously wondering about what's under that jet. I'm going to have to go to a drawing of the 450 and hope the exploded diagram shows something that's worth a shit. Homelite was really good for a long time. Heck, they even had part numbers assigned to all these things, but towards the late 70s, that all went away. You could still buy the big overhaul kits that had all these wearable parts, but you couldn't buy them singly. Now, if you can find a Walbro or Tillotson part number, you stand a small chance of finding some of them, but not a good one. All right, let me see if I can find a 450 measure here quick. Oh, here we go. This is an original. .21 jet and gasket kit, .028, part number 12. What the hell was it? 924? Yeah. And that is marked .028. Okay. That is not showing a check valve. So there's that. That's the jet. Would be just a little copper gasket, most likely. That's interesting. I guess I'd have to see a schematic of this thing to understand what it's doing to prevent back pulse. But, well, based on that, I'm not sure that I see any reason to keep this thing apart. I think it's good to go. And that was even holding some pressure right there after all this time. You guys probably couldn't hear it on the video because of all the background noise, but it still had half a PSI or something. So, let's do this the right way. Pump her up as we're cranking it down. There's 12. I can avoid moving this hose around too much. I made the mistake of spilling or splashing a little bit of freaking brake cleaner on the gauge, the cup plastic on this gauge. It really clouded it up, so I'm going to have to get out some polish and clean that. I found out various restoration work when I was doing my old 65 Chevy, various pieces, especially the aftermarket underdash air conditioner. That old black plastic was pretty dull. I found out that Mother's aluminum polish, the paste, will actually polish plastic up quite nicely. Cleaned all the old kind of dirt, soiling, and light scarring off of even the plastic for the gauge, the gauge panel. Obviously, you can't scrub on the paint. It forms the various lines, but the rest of the plastic is fair game. Clean it up pretty nice. So I'm hoping it'll work for this too. All right, look at that. We started at 12. I guess we're down to 7 there. And most of that is leaking right here at the hose itself. You guys can see that fit is not the best right there, so it's distorting it. But I am comfortable that this carb should start and run a saw right where it should have been. 1.5 turns open. In reality, a guy is probably going to tune it down and close it off a little bit from there, but at least that'll get the fuel flowing, especially if you're doing a completely dry start and your carburetor doesn't have anything in it at all. You won't have to crank it 400 times to get everything reprimed. So, Jerry, I think this thing is good to go. All of your work looked good. The only real thing I did is stretch that spring just a smidge. To make sure that needle doesn't leak at all. But we're going to call this one good.